If you've ever taken the time to dig into your old family photo album and then subsequently stared into the mirror for another 30 minutes questioning your own mortality, then you've successfully primed yourself to conquer most of the introvertive indie game genre. Spend some more time wondering which parent to call first, and you're already halfway into the feelings of a tiny, quiet little game called Unravel. Announced by the most relatable and humble man in the known universe at E3 2015, Unravel immediately set itself apart from the rest of the bigger, louder, and always deceptive Ubisoft tech demos. Unravel had instantly stolen my attention and immediately sparked wonder for what could potentially be the next game that steals my heart. The most prominent and wonderful parts of Unravel lies right smack in its presentation. The graphics, tones, music, colors, and general moods all come together in a sweet, delicious caramel swirl to deliver its own subtle flavor. Taking place in what I gather to be a more rural region of Russia,
it's Sweden, you asshole!
Unravel has you taking control of an adorably simple protagonist. Fittingly and adorably dubbed Yarny, our protagonist has 2 horns, 2 eyes, is made completely out of yarn, and with him you find yourself venturing out into the beautiful, lifelike world around you. The concepts and ideas in this game are heartwarmingly simple and strongly invoke a strange feeling of nostalgia right upon starting the game. One of the first things Unravel has to offer are its visuals. The environments in Unravel are made with an immense amount of detail, and starting your first level, you can most likely see exactly what the game is doing. And I like it. I like it a lot. From the golden, sun-drenched tones of the earliest level to the eerie, dark, misty vibes of the later levels, Unravel is a game that does not shy away from demonstrating its own range. There is a rather impressive variety of tones, palettes, and overall moods present throughout this game. It's more than satisfying to walk about all of these different areas and just kinda soak in everything at once. Beyond anything, the fauna and foliage in Unravel is very full. The grass, trees, flowers, and forests all feel full. You can probably stop at anywhere in this game and be blown away by the almost picturesque visuals, many times feeling like moving picture frames. This detail doesn't just shine in the outside world, but the inside world as well. The overworld in this game is actually presented as a family's house, a family of which actually serves as the subtle underlying story in Unravel. The idea is that all of these different locations are actually places from all the different photos present throughout the house. In fact, these photos actually act as the different gates that warp you into these vignettes. What I love about Unravel's overworld is mainly how minimalistic and out of the way it is, a style very prominent in this game. Walking up to different pictures provides little to no context outside of a title. This type of simplicity is a quality I appreciate deeply, considering the giant trend of hand-holding tutorials and other introductory sections that really only serve to insult the intelligence of the players. It's also in this overworld that we're introduced to an absolutely brilliant concept that I personally believe breathes fresh air into the platforming genre. Yarn. Just fucking yarn! Alright, hold up. So of course, what the fuck do fucking knitting supplies have to do with all of this shit? Well, on top of running and jumping and all of that boring shit, the formula is given a bit of a quick twist with the introduction of yarn. Yarny, the finite little nugget that he is, leaves along a singular trail of yarn wherever he goes, depleting the yarn available in his body. You go too far, you won't be able to progress, meaning that you'll have to manage your yarn correctly if you expect to get anywhere. You can tie this yarn onto designated spots, allowing for a diverse and fresh range of gameplay options and mechanics. In an era where we are only just beginning to see a revival of the platforming genre, a game like Unravel plainly demonstrates that this form of gaming is indeed quite ripe. This is easily what makes Unravel so special to me, and is now one of my favorite game mechanics. Having a personal boner for ideas that make you slap your head and say, "of course," probably plays a very large part in that. Just yarn. Yarn! Fuck, why didn't I think of that? You can fucking swing on it to sate your hunger for the PS4 Spider-Man coming out, or you can jump on it, you can fucking ensnare yourself in your own yarn flesh. Unravel is a game that manages to consistently combine a fluttery, adventurous atmosphere and tension with some really solid level design. The ingenuity behind the puzzles and the attempts you make to solve them can create an invigorating feeling of success. Simultaneously, this game can provide a truly transcendent feeling of weightlessness. I often find myself feeling like I've been dropped straight into a Ghibli film. There's so many moments that would leave me wide-eyed with joy, like using your yarn to fly a kite. It's something straight out of Miyazaki's playbook. Scurrying across the floorboards and behind the walls of someone's house personally brings my brain straight back to The Secret Life of Arrietty. The Secret Life of Arrietty, for the tragically uninformed, is a fantastic little Ghibli film that sees the life of little human-like creatures that live inside a family's house and frequently make their way around the house at night. I'm not so sure that Unravel was necessarily inspired by Arrietty, but the imagery of one strongly invokes the other. From traveling through rural households to traveling across dense foliage to making your way across bodies of water. Jeez, that was a good fucking film. By far, one of my favorite parts in Unravel is almost certainly the level that takes place on a pier. The scenery here is shockingly breathtaking, as the water bounces back and forth towards the screen. Something about how we get a cross-section of the actual waves as they come by is something I really enjoy. I'm not even sure how to add nuance to that, it's just a really fucking cool section. It doesn't just look pretty, but it's an entirely functional and ever so slightly brain-teasing moment. It isn't all fun and games, however. Unravel's story presents a progressively darker and, at times, slightly more sinister backdrop. Going from more lighthearted moments to some of the more touching undertones, all the way to getting caught in radioactive waste and cold, harsh, inclement weather. Even the house changes as you move along these levels, going from the early, inviting daytime to the dim lights of the nighttime. Unravel's story follows the old adage of show don't tell, and it does it masterfully. Even Yarny tends to react to his surroundings in just his idle animations, once again really giving each level a feel for its own chapter and place in the story. Accentuating these gentle waves of emotion is the extremely wistful soundtrack, comprised of basically all of the instruments used on Funeral, sans the accordion or guitars. Very dreamy and elegant violins and piano arrangements essentially caress the levels on Unravel and drive the narrative even further. The tracks even change as you move about the levels, oftentimes creating a more dramatic and tense moment that much more theatrical. The daunting and treacherous conditions that you navigate are carried along with this very dynamically orchestrated soundtrack, and shows that extra touch of soul and magic that Coldwood Interactive were looking to put into the game. You're definitely gonna need it as you maneuver yourself through the multiple attempts you'll find yourself going through as you discover your first doses of Yarny's mortality. Yarny is fragile, and it's pretty scary. Your enemies in Unravel include crabs, flies, water, trees, and basically anything bigger than you, which basically means everything, except this guy. What a nice guy. This doesn't stop our quaint little protagonist from suffering some awful Crash Bandicoot-like deaths. Something about video game characters drowning is the fucking worst, and Yarny, being the small boy he is, makes for an especially guilt-inducing experience. That shit will ruin your fucking day. Would you step on this for $18 billion? Well, anyhow. Unravel is an absolutely enchanting experience. It's an incredibly humble and quiet game. I have no problem agreeing on how much potential the game still has, but for what it is, Unravel managed to let me sit back and, well, unravel. It's nice to flow through this game and soak in what's going on. Uncovering pictures of this completely innocuous family is enough to let me see my own pictures in those albums for a few minutes. Completely subtle and ambient, yet at the same time completely conscious and expressing itself very much as an interactive video game and not some pseudo-deep walking sim, Unravel strikes a balance between combining light storytelling elements, enrapturing atmospheres and environments, and unique, intriguing gameplay. That tiny little shambling man has won my heart.
Hi. No.